Oh boy, do I have a lot to say today. And I'm trying something a little bit different with my video this time. I hope it works. I did my previous video in the aftermath of Charlottesville, after the terrorist attack that took the life of one person as somebody drove into the counter-protest. I condemned this act. I still condemn this act, as I condemn all terrorist attacks and all acts of political violence, because political violence is wrong. Once you begin normalizing political violence, things only go downhill from there. There are other ways, there are better ways, and society cannot sustain itself when political violence is allowed and acceptable. And that includes both sides. You see, recently the president came out and has been taking a lot of heat for condemning the violence at Charlottesville because he was condemning both sides. And there are people who believe that if you condemn one side, then you have to automatically be supporting the other side. Both sides of an argument can be wrong. Both sides can be equally wrong. And in this case, both sides are equally wrong. The enemy of my enemy is my enemy's enemy. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, people are saying that Trump's condemnation of, again, both sides is tantamount to supporting the side that conveniently they don't like. Of course, it doesn't mean that they're supporting the side he does like. No, that means he's supporting the side they don't like. But specifically in this case, Trump already came out and very specifically condemned the violence from the right, from the KKK and from the neo-Nazis.
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.
So how does somebody wrap their head around the fact that somebody who made this statement is now, supposedly 2 days later, supporting the very people he condemned? They lie. There's really no other way around this. What the president said was absolutely true. Both sides of the violence are unacceptable. And if you're going to treat one side in a specific way, you have to do that for the other. Now, there are some out there who would try to claim that there was no violence on the other side, that it was all because of the white nationalists. Well, that doesn't hold water either, because there was a CBS reporter who was there just doing filming, just doing his job. He was not part of the protest. He just happened to be near the counter-protest when this happened.
We're here, we're gay, we fight the KKK. We're here.
I mean, I don't know if you're present for the whole like don't report thing. Stop filming, bro. Stop filming shit. Get out of here, bro. How about this?
What the fuck?
Now, anyone who wants to condemn the violence that took place that day, but refuses to even acknowledge or condemn that specific act, I'd say you're the one in the wrong. That was an act of, there's no other way to say it, hate, bigotry, discrimination. He was being attacked because he wasn't part of their group. Now, there are some who also say, well, the white supremacists have a history of violence that dates back to Nazi Germany. After all, that's what they're calling themselves, Nazis. Therefore, they have to take on the mantle of all of the violence that has ever been perpetrated in that name. This is Charlottesville. This is the counter protest. Do you happen to see some of those flags in the distance? This picture was again taken by CBS. Different reporter this time. This is on their CBS Boston website. And yes, those are communist flags. Now, some people out there are not going to be happy to hear this, but communism is every bit as condemnable as Nazism. In fact, communism is the only recent modern political ideology that one could state, based on how many people they have killed in various genocides, is objectively worse than Nazism. If you want to say that one side has to harbor all the ills of the sins of the father, then I'm sorry, it comes back on you as well. And even looking at more recent actions from Berkeley and the like, it is the left who has been increasingly violent and increasingly causing the violence. Now, I harbor no illusions that there were those at the White Power Unite the Right rally who were looking for a fight. And I hope those that did find one also found themselves on the wrong side of the law and are now sitting in prison, or will at some point be, because that's not acceptable behavior. But at the same time, I absolutely know that there were those in the counter-protest who came specifically to cause a fight. And that is just as bad. And no, you cannot get away with saying you're fighting the fascists, that you're fighting against hate and violence, because you are committing just as much hate and violence, and you will never win against hate and violence by using the same techniques. And they are the same techniques. The thing is, both of these groups are basically the same coin, just different sides. And they behave the same way. Here we have two monuments that have both been defaced from different sides. The difference here, though, is the reaction between them. On the top, we have a Holocaust memorial in which somebody, a lone person, threw a rock through the glass and ran off, and he was caught and arrested. Below, we have a group of angry protesters who have torn down a monument, Confederate statue, while cheering and celebrating. And yes, one of the main women responsible for that has also been arrested. Now again, you can try to claim that these are different activities, and well, one is a celebration of hate and the other is a celebration of the memorial of the victims. But even that doesn't really hold water. You see, you can't erase the past quite so easily, and in fact, attempting to do so is actually worse. Those that forget history are doomed to repeat it, and sometimes we need the symbols as a reminder of what to watch for and what to keep our eyes open for to make sure they don't happen again. And tearing something down, a group of citizens deciding to get together and enact their own vigilante justice, is not something a polite society can harbor. Violence is unacceptable no matter where it's coming from. And yes, the left is just as bad.